Hey, you don't look your age, somebody was telling me the other day. I'm 53 now, but maybe the appearances can be different from your chronological age. Or you may have heard such phrases like age is just a number, or maybe I want to age gracefully. So what is this aging process, and what are the biological implications of this aging process, and all the relevant matter? We will describe this in this video, and we will have it in two parts. First part, we will discuss the physiology of aging, that is introduction, then what happens at the cellular level, next would be what happens at the organ system level, and the fourth will be the theories of aging. So this is part one of the aging process. The second part, or the second video, we will discuss whether this aging process can be retarded. Can it be completely halted? No, of course. But can it be decelerated? We will talk about that in the part 2 or the second video. So let's start with the first one, and that is physiology of aging, the changes that happen with aging and the theories of aging. All right, it is asked as a short note in many universities, 5 or 7 marks. So this video part 1 will be sufficient for that 5 or 7 marks short note. Let's begin with the introduction and the definition. What is age? Before we start with the process of aging itself, what is age? You know that length of time an individual has existed, alive and existed. So we measure that in years or decades of life, etc. So that's age. Generally age is a chronological age, but there is also mental age. You might have experienced this with people around you, that somebody has got the age, chronological age or biological age, but mentally not so mature. The mental age is little not on par. Or sometimes other way around also, somebody who is young but prematurely aged, mentally speaking. So even biological, mental age, they differ. You know why this aging is important. I mean, previously not so much importance was given to the process of aging and the senescence and what changes happen. But in recent times, there is a lot of research going on about this age. In fact, we see pediatric age group is always a very well taken care of age group. But now, in recent times, you will also see geriatric OPDs in the hospital. So special care required to be taken in this age group. In fact, I remember our surgeon used to say, up to the age of 20, you can take your health for granted. From 20 to 40 age group, you can, ignoring your health part is okay. You have to take a little bit of care. But after the age of 40, yes, you have to take absolute care of your health because of the process of aging, which will start and will accelerate. So let's see what this aging is. It's defined as an inevitable process, and it starts from the type of conception itself. Yes, I mean the changes, I mean the day you are born, the minute you are born, there are going to be changes which happen every day of your life, and the aging process in that sense occurs from the time of conception itself, you can say. Okay, physiologically speaking, aging refers to the progressive deteriorative changes. If you are writing a short note, this phrase should come in your short note: progressive deteriorative changes. These changes are deteriorative changes, and particularly they occur during the adult period of life. Those deteriorative changes up to the age of 25, it is said that 25 is the age where there is peak performance of your life, and beyond that then it begins to decline as these changes start kicking in. So progressive deteriorative changes, due to which there is increased vulnerability to challenges. Yes, that's an important aspect. There is increased vulnerability to the challenges, external challenges, internal challenges, and therefore decreasing ability to survive. Yes, that's the process of aging, or we may also say impaired ability to maintain homeostasis. There is wear and tear going on in the body almost every day, and the change is happening. So up to a certain point of your age, there is tremendous ability to maintain the homeostasis. Howsoever you have felt tired on the previous day, the next morning you feel fresh, energetic, and again raring to go. So that happens up to a certain age. But then when the aging process kicks in, there's the ability to maintain homeostasis gets impaired in the face of those challenges or stresses. It's a decline in function. Yes, now comes the real part. Decline in the function at cellular level and at the organ system level. So we will see what that decline is, and then eventually talk about the theories. So this is introduction, inability to maintain homeostasis, and progressive deteriorative changes that happen in the body. All right, what happens at the cellular level? Three important aspects that happen with the process of aging. By the way, aging is also called as senescence. You may have heard this term. For example, senile means the one which is related to the old age. Senile cataract, for example. So senile, senescence, that's the aging or old age. Okay, cellular level, three things. Damage caused by oxidative stress. Most important theory that is floated around about the process of aging is that there is oxidative stress and the damage caused by that oxidative stress. Look, it's inevitable. It's inevitable part of life, that the life cycle goes on, but there's going to be stress, oxidant stress particularly. It is going to be damaging, and the ability to repair from that damage will become less and less with aging. So damage caused by oxidative stress, inadequate repair of that damage, and the third change is dysregulation in the cell number. As I said, the cell cycle goes on. I think I said life cycle, but I actually mean cell cycle. The cell division, the increase in the number, then the apoptosis, programmed cell death. All these things are going on up to a certain age with quite a discipline. But as the aging starts kicking in, the number is dysregulated. So decline in the DNA repair activity, yes, an important aspect at the cellular level, and changes in the connective tissue. You will often see that the elderly individuals, they have a certain stiffness in their body. Why is that? It's because of the changes in the connective tissue. The collagen fibers become stiff and the elastin goes on decreasing. Elastin provides certain elasticity to our body structures, particularly the musculoskeletal system. With aging process, there is hydrolysis of the elastin, and therefore the elasticity, the overall flexibility of the body will go on decreasing, as you see with the older individuals. So this is what happens at the cellular level. So far what we have discussed, introduction, then what happens at the cellular level. Now we will see the organ changes, systemic changes. This will be easy to write if you have a short note in the exam. Just you have to recall the systems one by one, and the matter will be easy. So let's see, blood and the circulatory system. Well, so far as the blood is concerned, there are blood cells, particularly RBCs and WBCs. So what happens with aging is that the bone marrow, red bone marrow, is infiltrated with more and more fat, and it turns yellow. So yellow bone marrow cannot produce cells anymore, and therefore gradually the hematopoiesis will decline. Now this affects WBCs more than the RBCs. Not so much influence on the platelet number, but WBCs are affected more, and therefore there is a certain immune decline, immune function decline that happens with the aging. So of course, as a fallout, susceptibility to infections. You will see that the elderly individuals, they are more susceptible to infections, they are more vulnerable, right? One more important aspect that you must mention in your answer, possibility of autoimmune diseases occurring after the age of 50. It's a well-known fact that after the age of 50, the chances of autoimmune disease occurrence would increase. Why is that? It's because of the increased T cell reactivity. So sometimes this T cell will cross-react with the body's self protein, resulting in the autoimmune disease. That's a very common fallout of the aging process, autoimmune diseases. And the circulatory system, well, you know, circulatory system means blood vessels and the heart. So atherosclerosis is one very common occurrence with aging. In fact, it is said that the fat deposition starts from the very first decade of life. Yes, eventually whether it leads to atherosclerosis and whether it leads to hypertension and ischemic heart disease would depend on the environmental influences, the dietary influences, and so on. But the deposition of fat is an inevitable process, and it does occur from the very first decade of life. All right, so blood vessels become stiff, and a very important point again, there is increase in the systolic BP. Even if you are a normotensive individual, look, hypertension is categorized mainly on the basis of diastolic blood pressure. But systolic BP anyways in normotensives becomes little higher than what it is expected to be. So for example, there is a quick formula: systolic blood pressure is equal to 100 plus age in years. 100 plus age in years. So in an individual who is 40 years of age, his systolic BP, his or her systolic BP can be 140 mm of Hg, and that's taken as normal. It's not taken as hypertension, because this is because of certain stiffness in the blood vessels. All right, so increase in the systolic blood pressure, and therefore the pulse pressure also widens. You know, the difference between systolic and diastolic is the pulse pressure. So increase in the systolic would increase this difference, pulse pressure increases. What about the myocardium? What about the heart? There is deposition of a pigment called as lipofuscin in the myocardium, and certain fibrotic changes also are seen in the myocardium. Because of these, there is certain ventricular remodeling that occurs with aging. So capacity of the heart will decrease, atrophy and remodeling, capacity of the heart will decrease. So remember, if an elderly individual requires blood transfusion, often that blood is given along with the diuretics, because elderly individuals have a certain amount of compromised heart function, and therefore giving the blood, that person's heart may not be able to handle that much extra blood volume, and therefore diuretics are generally given in elderly individuals when they require blood transfusion. Along with the blood, diuretics given. And exercise tolerance also decreases with aging. All right, talking about the musculoskeletal system, these changes you can write as a general knowledge. There is steady decline in the skeletal muscle mass. Yes, on one hand there is decline in the protein synthesis, plus the hormones which are required for increased muscle mass. Those hormones are also declining with aging process. So as a result, muscle mass decreases and bone mass also decreases. There is bone demineralization. So with menopause, there is postmenopausal osteoporosis, and even in males there is certain amount of decreased bone density. So musculoskeletal system shows these changes. Respiratory system, You know, respiratory system has alveoli and the airways. With aging process, there is airway remodeling. We saw there is ventricular remodeling and there is airway remodeling. So what is this remodeling thing? Look, certain changes in the structure and therefore the changes in the function, that's called as remodeling. So structural changes will occur and it will become slightly different in its structural orientation. That's remodeling. So airway remodeling. Now what happens because of that is that there is early closure of airways with expiration. Let me just rephrase it. Airway remodeling occurs and because of that the airways are little narrowed. So what happens is with inspiration the air will go in, but during expiration all the air is not able to come out because of that early closure of airways. And because of this the air gets trapped. Extra air is trapped in the alveoli beyond that closure part, and therefore the residual volume and functional residual capacity goes on increasing. More and more air gets trapped, and more means it may not be in many mLs or liters of volume, but yes, there is increase in the residual volume and FRC with age. So a very important change that you must recognize. Closing volume of the lung. Now normally this closing volume of the lung, I have described it in some other video. You may refer it to the video of lung volumes and capacities. Closing volume, which is normally toward the residual volume, with aging and airway remodeling, it approaches functional residual capacity. An important change. All right. Now coming to the digestive system. With aging, what happens is, intestinal lining has that villus structure. Villi and microvilli, which increase the overall surface area for the absorption of nutrients. That is the normal normal structure. Now with aging, this villus structure is either damaged or there is atrophy of the villus structure, and therefore overall there is reduction in the surface area for the absorption of nutrients, and therefore nutritional deficiencies are very common in the elderly individuals. Most important reason is what I mentioned just now: decreased surface area for absorption of the nutrients. Excretory system. Well, this is again quite understandable. Reduced number of functioning nephrons. So 10% reduction per decade after the age of 30. That's how the functioning nephron number goes on decreasing, and obviously renal blood flow will decrease and GFR will also decrease. All right. The most important changes, or most prominent changes rather, I would say, occur in the nervous system and endocrine system, because these two are the regulatory systems of the body, and therefore these two systems are most prominently hit by the process of aging. What happens with nervous system and special senses? Cortical atrophy and loss of neurons. Yes, neurons are unable to maintain their integrity, and therefore there is loss of neurons with aging. Because of this, there is decline in the mental ability and decline in the cognitive function. Yes, decline in the cognitive function. Very often you will see that if in a family, if there is a elderly individual, sometimes you have to explain the things to them repeatedly, or twice or thrice over. That is an inevitable fallout of the process of aging, that neurons decrease in number, so cognitive function decline. And the certain diseases which occur as an aging process. For example, Parkinson's disease, degenerative disorder, degeneration of neurons, dopaminergic neurons, and therefore this is a disease. This disease is seen in the 8th decade of life. So obviously it is because of the process of aging. 8th decade means 70 years onward. So this disease is likely to occur only after 70 years of age. Or degeneration of cholinergic neurons, that will result in the Alzheimer's disease. Impaired ANS function also is seen. Loss of power of accommodation. This is general knowledge to you. There is loss of power of accommodation, and therefore near vision is affected. Very often you will see the elderly in the house, they keep their newspaper or reading material quite away from the eyes. That's because their near point has receded from the eye. So it's the presbyopia, for which they will require bifocal lenses. Okay, and reduced mobility of ossicular chain, and therefore reduced hearing. So special senses changes. Endocrine and reproductive system. Finally, let's see what happens here. Decreased circulating levels of certain hormones. Many hormones decrease, their synthesis itself has declined. And for example, steroids. Steroids are the anti-stress hormones, glucocorticoids, and if they decrease, then the ability to face the stress itself will decline. So hormones decrease, response to stress is decreased. Reproductive system, as I mentioned, that with menopause there is going to be decrease in estrogen and progesterone. With andropause in males, there is going to be decreased testosterone. Right. So that was the second part, third part of our topic or discussion. Now let us see theories of aging. What actually causes the changes of aging? Well, first thing, there is a primary aging process and there is a secondary aging process. Primary aging is a predetermined process, genetically pre-programmed or genetically predetermined process. Okay, so it's already pre-programmed genetically. And secondary aging means the environmental influences which affect the rate of aging. Yes, at the start of video I just said, can you decelerate the aging? Can you decrease the rate of aging? Well, yes, to some extent by changing the environmental influences. So environmental influences which affect the rate of aging. Okay, the theories, there is genetic theory which says genetically pre-programmed decline in the function and a decrease in the telomerase activity. This is a very well known factor. Decrease in the telomerase activity, telomere lengths are shortened. DNA repair declines with the advancing age. Yes, a very important aspect. DNA damaged and DNA repair does not happen. So you will see many changes that happen with the aging process. And your skin, for example, it will not appear to be the same as it used to be, or many others, the facial features might change. This is happening because there was damage to the DNA and the repair is not happening. So for example, our medicine professor used to say that if you want to know the real age of a person, just see the back of his or her hand. Back of the hand will tell you the story, because we use the hands most often. I mean, this is the most used organ, and therefore there's going to be a lot of wear and tear. So even if the person appears very young, and back of the hand will tell you the age of that person. Anyways, that's because of the declined ability of the DNA to repair, or rather DNA repair itself has declined with the aging process. Okay, there is something called as Hayflick limit. You know, cells can divide only a limited number of times, and that limit on the cell division is said to be the Hayflick limit. All right, Second theory, which is also very commonly accepted, free radical theory, oxygen free radicals or reactive oxygen species, ROS. Very popular theory which describes the aging process. Superoxide anion, hydroxyl radicals, they are generated naturally by our energy generation process, and they are accumulated over a period of time. So this is oxidative stress theory or free radical theory. So these free radicals, they damage the DNA and therefore they damage the proteins. All right, lipid peroxidation of the membranes also is a part of that theory. There are other theories also, like somatic mutation theory or error catastrophe theory. These theories also have been proposed. Okay, my current favorite on which I am studying more and more is the glycation and glycoxidation theory. Yes, what happens is, look, ever since, since birth, we do consume carbohydrates. There is glucose in our blood all the time. And if the glucose levels are high, consistently high over a period of time, slowly, what happens is that there is irreversible glycation reaction. Well, this also is an inevitable process. So what happens is formation of advanced glycation end products. Incidentally, the short form is AGE, advanced glycation end products. And these products, there is irreversible glycation of proteins. So because of this, the protein structure is altered, obviously, and that is the reason for aging. Can you reverse these AGEs? AGEs means advanced glycation end products. Yes, in the part 2, in the next video, we will be discussing how you can slow down the process of aging. There, all the more interesting matter will be discussed. So don't forget to watch even that video. Okay, finally, cell removal by apoptosis becomes dysfunctional. I think I mentioned this at the start, that apoptosis, the programmed cell death, and removal of the cells to be replaced by the newer ones, this is the process of apoptosis. But with aging, the cell removal by apoptosis becomes dysfunctional. So all these are the theories of aging. The next video we will be seeing, because that is another important aspect and lots to discuss there, how to slow down the process of aging. But if you are writing a short note, in the end you can mention it in the short note, nutrition and nutritional supplements. You know, the triad of diet, exercise and lifestyle. If these three things are modified, then yes, aging can be slowed down. So you can mention this at the end of the short note, and this part will be good enough for your university short notes for 5 or 7 marks. The second video also you can watch and add some matter over there, but this much would be sufficient for physiology of aging. Next video we will see what are the things that we can change in our lives so that the aging process is slowed down, and you not only look younger, but you also feel younger from within. Is that possible? Yes, it is. We will see that in the part 2.